Intelexx here, and welcome to Intelexx, a place for entrepreneurs podcast, the podcast for Intelexx Artrepreneur Agency, the Indeed for Artists.
And just like that,
if you want to
season
catch
3 is
up
a wrap.
on all of our seasons, make sure to check us out on Anchor, Spotify, YouTube, and so much more, because we have had so many amazing episodes, so many amazing entrepreneurs, so much advice on different books you can read, different influential people that you can look up, resources, and so much more. If you are interested in becoming a part of our podcast as a feature, definitely connect with us, because we have so much in store for you. So sit back, relax, and tune in to today's episode. Well, hello, welcome back to another episode of Intelexx, a place for Artrepreneurs podcast. We are in season 4, and this is our 7th episode. And for those of you who have not tuned into our previous seasons, to our previous episodes, make sure to check them out. They've been amazing. We've had some awesome artists come on here, entrepreneurs come on here with some wisdom, with some amazing art. Definitely check it out. All right. So thank you so much for coming back and for coming. If this is your first time, shout out to you. All right. So this episode is our 7th episode, and we are going to be going over an inspirational book, which is one of my favorites. And it is The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T Harv Eker. Now, for those of you who don't know who he is, let me put you on game. Let me introduce you to the man himself. Okay, let's do the introduction.
Hi there, Mind Valley community. My name is T Harv Eker, and I'm the author of the New York Times #1 bestseller, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Vishen let me know that there were a lot of people asking about my background and why I teach wealth and financial freedom. And in fact, there's a whole story behind that. So I'd like to just share a little bit behind that. And I think it's kind of interesting. It might give you a little bit of insight, and maybe there's some lessons for yourself. My parents came from Europe. They had no money whatsoever. When I grew up, all my friends wanted to be doctors and lawyers and firemen and baseball players, and I just wanted to be a millionaire. I didn't even know why, but, it was ingrained in me. And so I left college actually at the end of first year because it wasn't going fast enough and I wasn't rich enough yet. After that, I proceeded to struggle big time. I mean, I thought I would get rich literally in a couple of years because I don't know why, but a lot of us do. And listen to this, I had 14 different jobs and 12 different businesses in only 10 years. I tried everything and nothing worked for me. It worked for my friends, it worked for my associates, it didn't work for me. And I was doing all of this, everything. I was taking all the seminars, reading all the books, in those days listening to all the tapes, and still I was broke. There were many, 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 many nights, far more nights than I care to remember, that I literally had to choose between putting $5 of gas in my car and eating dinner that night. And a lot of times I had to choose the car. Things were not working for me whatsoever. I had to move back home, and I lived in my parents' basement. And all I can tell you, it was nothing short of, I guess the word is embarrassing. I had very low self-esteem because of that at the time. And I was a completely different person than when I started, when I was really gung-ho and I thought I could make it. It just wasn't working for me. As the universe put things together, I was, as I said, at my parents' house. I met a friend of my father's who was a very, very wealthy man, and he stopped me in the hallway and he said, Harv, your father tells me that you're a bum. So I wasn't very happy about that. But he said, can I give you any advice? I go, well, sure, whatever. And he said, listen, if you're not doing as well as you'd like to be doing, all that means is there's something you don't know. And being a brash young man at the time, I thought I knew what, everything, but I guess I didn't. And he says, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be rich. I want to make a lot of money. And he says, well, that's not the world's best goal, but how do you want to do it? And I said, I want to do it in business because I'm not going to be a doctor or a lawyer, and I'm unemployable, unfortunately or fortunately. I can't deal with jobs really well, so I've got to do it in business. He says, well, if you're gonna do it in business, one thing you need to know is that most rich business people think and do the same things. And most people who are successful in anything think and do it the same way pretty well. And I said, that makes sense. So I wasn't making any money anyways. And I spent the next 6 months studying rich business people. And I learned some very, very critical principles around that. And, one of the things that had happened was that I still had no money whatsoever. And I remember before getting further involved into any new ventures, I was so scared to fail again. I remember sitting in the back of my parents' house, and I was on a lounge chair, and I was looking up to the heavens, and for some reason I just began to cry. I mean, I don't cry a lot, but tears were just rolling down my face, and I was just so frustrated, and I was so scared, like, what if I fail again? I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but when you start something, you're so excited, and then when it doesn't work, it's like, oh, not again, and pretty soon it just takes a toll on you, doesn't it? And so that's what happened for me. I looked up to the heavens and I was crying, and I said, universe or God or whatever is up there, I promise you that if somehow I make it, I will help other people do the same way that I did. I mean, I just can't handle another failure. And so I used the principles that I learned, and I opened one of the first retail fitness stores in the world. And I started that with $2,000 that I borrowed on my Visa card because, again, I had no money. And literally a year and a half later, I was a millionaire. And I learned several critical lessons, key lessons that I didn't know before. I thought I knew, but I didn't know. Because everything I did before didn't work, and everything I did then and now seems to work really, really well. And so, that's why I teach what I teach, because I made a promise to the big guy, and I said, listen, if I make it, I promise I'll help other people do the same. And listen, I'm going to be right up front with you. A lot of people want to do well financially. A lot of people want to have balance in their lives. A lot of people are spiritually bent, which I think is a very good thing. And I can tell you about that when you listen to my upcoming masterclass with Vishen, how I got involved in spirituality. But we tend to think that it's one or the other. It's like, oh, if I'm spiritual and my leanings are towards that, then money is not an important thing. Well, how's that working? That doesn't seem to work out really well in the real world either, does it? Or we go for money and then spirituality just seems to fall away, and so does everything else. That doesn't work either. So the big secret is, how do you put this all together? And I, thank goodness, thank the universe that I was able to find an answer that's not only worked for me, but literally I have over 2 million students all around the world now, and it seems to work for them too. And I'd love for you to find out the secrets that I found out and be able to help you with that. And it really, really is a life changer. So one thing for sure I learned is that who you learn from makes a difference. There's a lot of teachers out there. There's a lot of wonderful teachers and coaches. At the same time, I'm always just going to go with the same example that I've always used, which is, if you were going to climb Mount Everest, and your life is at stake at that, and would you be going with someone who's never been to Mount Everest before? More has come down from Mount Everest after reaching the top, and more importantly than that, has taught and brought other people to go up and brought them down safely. I wouldn't. And many people get stuck in this idea of, I'll take this and I'll take that webinar and this seminar and this, and they're involved with people who aren't even financially successful themselves. So I would be careful about that one. And the second thing is that when I was young, I remember sitting at the dinner table and my parents were asking me, Harv, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I was already in the teens at that point in time. And I said, well, I'm not sure yet, but I know that I want to do what I love to do. I'm going to find what I love to do, and I'm going to make money doing that. And you know what they said to me? They said, you're living in Disneyland. It doesn't work like that in the real world. You can't just do what you love to do and do well with it. You have to listen closely, Harv. This is what they said. You have to spend 6 days a week working for money. And then on Sundays, you can enjoy your life. You know, you have to put bread on the table. You have to be successful. You can't be being a Pollyanna here. And for some reason, that was one of the things they said to me that just did not register. I said, I cannot believe that that's what life is all about. There's no way. And so I stuck to my guns. And literally, here's what happened. For the first of those 10 years that I was struggling, for the first 9.5 years of that, I was doing what they told me to do. I was trying to work for money, make money, and forget about like the vehicle and what I enjoyed doing, forget about this. And I was broke. Then finally I made a decision. That's it. I'm broke anyways. I've got nothing to do. I got nowhere more down to go. So I said, I'm just going to do what I enjoy doing. And that's why I was really, heavy duty into fitness myself. I was a big runner. I was even helping people on the side. Hey, do this, do that, work out. And literally I just said, I'm just going to get in the fitness industry, fitness business. I enjoy it. And sure enough, I became a millionaire using these principles. So I invite you to join myself and Vishen on our masterclass. I would say that I think you're going to not only enjoy it, but you're going to get a lot out of it. But I after 2 million students, I have to be more confident than for you than to say I think. Actually, I know that if you use what we teach you on this masterclass, if you use this, you will get the secret. You will have the secret, the unlocking of that vault, the door that actually shows you exactly how do you put it all together. How do you put together money and spirituality and health and relationships and all of it. But the big thing we're going to talk about is money and spirituality, because I think spirituality for me, it's one of the most important parts of my life, if not the most important part. But I'm also, and I just be blunt, extremely, extremely, extremely wealthy financially. And I've been able to put that together, and that's been my greatest blessing. So I look forward to seeing you on the masterclass. Bless you all, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Oh my goodness, that was so enlightening, right? I don't know how many people are like me, but I personally like to know the person behind the words, right? When I'm reading books, I want to know about the author and not just the page that they give you at the end or in the beginning, however they create it. I want to know, how are you? Like, what happened to put you in this position? All right. What's your story? I always want to know what somebody's story is, whether they are an artist of all types, whether they are, in the entertainment industry, whether they are striving to get there. How did you get there? What's your story? What made you want to do this? And just hearing his story and how he was so passionate and so, he had that desire. He was determined to make it happen. He didn't want to live by how his parents or family told him, you got to work 6 days a week and that seventh day you can enjoy your life. That's not something that would register with me either, because I don't want to work for money. I want my money to work for me. And he cracked the code. He's one of the ones that cracked the code. And so he obviously knows what he's talking about, y'all. So I just wanted y'all to know who he was, not just, hear about what his book has. He gives you principles on what the rich, what the wealthy do, how many accounts they have, um, what they stop doing, the principles that make the wealthy wealthy, right? He goes into all that. So if you don't have a copy of his book, I would recommend it. I had a copy and I gave it away. That was me paying it forward. And, maybe the person I gave it to gave it to somebody else. Either way, it's just so great to know. But commercial break. All right. If you are interested in having help with wanting to know, wanting to find your purpose, go to Intelexx.com so we can help you. Go book a free consultation, y'all. Free 99. Book a free one. When you book a free consultation, we will do a personalized plan for you, that's specialized just for you so that we can give you what you need. If you need any help and assistance with anything, go to Intelexx.com. Also, if you want to be a part of the intellectual community, join our app, the Artrepreneurs Hub. You can click the link on Intelexx.com, or you can go to your app or Play Store, search under the Mighty Networks app, create an account, search for the Artrepreneurs Hub, and we are right there. All right, we are here to serve you, and we want to connect with you on a different level. All right, so make sure to connect with us because we would love to have you in our community. All right, so let's get back to this. So we're gonna get into the actual book. You ready? I want y'all to really get a sense of what this book is about. All right, so let's check this out.
You will understand the root causes of success, mediocrity, or financial failure and begin changing your financial future for the better. You will understand how childhood influences shape our financial blueprint and how these influences can lead to self-defeating thoughts and habits. You will experience powerful declarations that will help you replace your non-supportive ways of thinking with mental wealth files so that you think and succeed just as rich people do. You will also learn practical, step-by-step strategies for increasing your income and building wealth. In the first part of this recording, I will explain how each of us are taught and conditioned to think and act when it comes to money, and will outline key strategies for interceding and revising our mental money blueprint. In part 2, I will examine in greater depth the differences between how rich, middle class, and poor people think, and share with you what I like to call wealth files and the resulting actions you should take that will lead to lasting and permanent changes in your life and your wealth. So what's my experience? Where am I coming from? Was I always successful? I wish. Like many of you, I supposedly had a lot of potential, but had little to show for it. I read all the books, listened to all the tapes, and went to all the seminars. I really wanted to be successful. I don't know whether it was for the money, the freedom, the sense of achievement, or just to prove I was good enough in my parents' eyes, but I was almost always obsessed with becoming a success. During my 20s, I started several different businesses, each with the dream of making my fortune, but my results went from dismal to worse. Then, as luck would have it, I got some advice from an extremely rich friend of my father's. He was at my parents' house playing cards with the boys, and in passing, saw me. This was the third time I'd moved back home, and I was living in the lower-level suite, otherwise known as the basement. I suppose my dad had complained to him of my woeful existence, because when he saw me, he had the sympathy in his eyes usually reserved for the bereaved at a funeral. He said, "Harv, I started in the same way as you, a complete disaster." He went on and said, "But then I got some advice that changed my life, and I'd like to pass it on to you." He said, "If you're not doing as well as you'd like, all that means is that there's something you don't know." Well, being a brash young man at the time, I thought I knew pretty well everything, but alas, my bank account said something very different. So I finally began to listen. My father's friend continued, "Did you know that most rich people think in very similar ways?" I said, "No, I never really considered that." To which he replied, "It's not an exact science, but for the most part, rich people think a certain way, and poor people think a completely different way, and those ways of thinking determine their actions and therefore determine their results." He went on, "Harv, if you thought the way rich people do, and did what rich people do you believe you could become rich too?" Well, nothing else was working in my life, so I figured what the heck and threw myself wholeheartedly into studying rich people and how they think. I learned everything I could about the inner workings of the mind, but concentrated primarily on the psychology of money and success. I discovered that it was true. Rich people really do think differently from poor and even middle-class people. Eventually, I became aware of how my own thoughts were holding me back from wealth. More important, I learned several powerful techniques and strategies to actually recondition my mind so that I would think in the same ways that rich people do. Finally, I said, enough yakking about it, let's put it to the test. I decided to attempt yet another business. Because I was really into health and exercise, I opened one of the first retail fitness stores in all of North America. I didn't have any money, so I had to borrow $2,000 on my Visa card to get the business started. I began using what I'd learned in modeling rich people, both in terms of their business strategies and their thinking strategies. The first thing I did was commit to my success and playing to win. I swore I would focus and never even consider leaving this business until I was a millionaire or more. I also began challenging my mental approach whenever I began thinking in financially negative or counterproductive ways. In the past, I'd believed that whatever my mind said was truth. I learned, however, that in many, many ways, my mind was my biggest obstacle to success. I chose not to entertain thoughts that did not empower me towards my vision of wealth. I used every one of the principles you are going to learn in this recording. Did it work? Boy, did it work. The business was so successful that I was able to open 10 stores in only 2.5 years. I then sold half the company's shares to a Fortune 500 company for $1.6 million. After that, I moved to sunny San Diego. I took a couple of years off to refine my strategies and began doing some one-on-one business consulting. Well, I guess it was pretty effective for people because they kept bringing friends and partners and associates to our sessions. Soon, I was coaching 1-on-2, 1-on-5, 1-on-10, sometimes 20 people at a time. Then, one of my clients suggested that I might as well open up a school. I thought that was a great idea, so I did. I founded the Street Smart Business School and taught thousands and thousands of people all across North America street smart business strategies for high-speed success. And as I traveled across the country giving my seminars, I noticed something. I noticed something very, 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 very strange. In that you could have two people sitting side by side in exactly the same room, learning exactly the same principles and strategies. And one person would take these tools and they would skyrocket to success. But what do you think might happen to the person sitting maybe right beside them? The answer is, not a heck of a lot. And that's when it became obvious once again that you can have the greatest tools in the world, but if you've got a tiny leak in your toolbox, and I'm pointing to my head right now, you've got a problem. And so that's what you're going to learn in this recording. How to master the inner game of money to win the game of money. How to think rich to get rich. You know, people often ask me whether my success was a one-shot deal or whether it has continued. Let me put it this way. Using the exact principles I teach, I have now earned millions and millions of dollars, and I am a multi-millionaire several times over. My investments and business ventures all seem to skyrocket. Some people tell me I have the Midas touch, and you know what? They're right. But what they might not realize is that having the Midas touch is simply another way of saying having a financial blueprint that is set for success. And that's exactly what you will have once you learn the principles and do the work in this recording. It's interesting to note that this audio is not as much about learning as it is about unlearning. It is essential that you recognize how your old ways of thinking and acting have gotten you exactly where you are right now. If you're really rich and happy, fine. But if you're not, I invite you to consider some possibilities that may not fit into your box of what you currently think is right or even appropriate for you. And even though I suggest that you don't believe a word I say, and I want you to test these concepts out in your own life, I'm going to ask you to trust the ideas you are listening to, not because you know me personally, but because thousands and thousands of people have already changed their lives as a result of the principles in this very recording. I have a saying, it's not enough to be in the right place at the right time. You have to be the right person in the right place at the right time. So who are you? How do you think? What are your beliefs? How confident are you in yourself? How well do you relate to others? How much do you trust others? Do you truly feel that you deserve wealth? What is your ability to act in spite of fear, in spite of worry, in spite of inconvenience, and in spite of discomfort? The fact is that your character, your thinking, and your beliefs are a critical part of what determines the level of your success. One of my favorite wealth principles is this: your income can only grow to the extent that you do. Have you noticed how some people have a lot of money and then lose it, or see excellent opportunities start well but then go sour on them? Now you know the real cause. On the outside, it looks like bad luck, a downturn in the economy, a lousy partner, whatever. On the inside, however, it's another matter. That's why.
All right, what did y'all think about that? Listen, he's breaking it down, okay? Your income only grows to the extent that you do. A lot of us, we all want wealth, right? We all want to get to a certain um, status. But what are we doing to get there? And what principles are we using? This is what we need to think about and focus on, right? This is what we need to think about and focus on when it comes to building our wealth, because our habits determine our future, and the things that we do today set us up for what will happen to us tomorrow. So if we are not in line with what we need to be in line with, then we need to reevaluate what we're actually doing. But that was just a snippet of the book. All right. Like I said, it has a lot of gems in there. It talks about, like I said earlier, the amount of accounts you should have, what they stand for, how much you should be putting aside for yourself, what you should be doing as far as investing in yourself, going to different seminars that build you up. Like the previous video, he talked about taking 6 months just learning how the wealthy did it, and he was able to crack the code. There's so many others, but if you want to get to that point, how much are you studying it, right? We all are in school, whether we are going to a university, a college, high school, whatever grade you are in school because you should be a forever student. And if you are not, then you need to reevaluate all of that. Like even with him, he went to school and stopped after the first year. That just goes to show that you can be successful without having to go to school and get a degree. There are many, many people who do that. School is not for everybody. That's fine. And it also depends on the type of field that you plan on going into, because it's not for everybody. But what I want you to remember is stay a forever student. Study what it is that you want to level up in. If you want to level up in your finances, study people who have done it. If you want to level up in your craft, study those who came before you. If you want to be the best of the best of the best, study the best of the best of the best. The point is, don't stop learning. Always be a student. Always be willing to learn. Always be open to learning about what you can do to make yourself better. Because at the end of the day, what's on the inside of you is what's going to come out. The type of person that you are is only going to be magnified when you get to a certain point, when you have that certain amount of money, when you have that certain status, when you have the things that you want. You is going to be there. You meet yourself when you get there, like Jennifer Lewis says. So don't be looking and thinking, oh, once I get to this point, then I'll be great, and then I'll do that, and then I'll do this. You'll see you, right? If you are a bad steward with your time, you're going to be a bad steward with your money. You're going to be a bad steward when it comes to managing tasks and having friends and everything that you do with yourself. You are the CEO of yourself. Whatever you do with you and how you interact with you is how you're going to interact with anything and everything. How you do anything is how you do everything. So just be mindful of the relationship that you have with money, the relationship that you have with people, the relationship that you have with yourself, because all of that is going to extend into every other area of your life. So if you want to be successful, you want to have wealth, you want to obtain millions and things of that nature, produce that within yourself first. Love you and really pour into you and really have that relationship with yourself first, it'll come. But you have to have that mindset, you have to have that mentality, you have to have that routine going on within you before you can elevate to that level, because as he said, the level of your wealth is only determined by what you do, right? It's not going to be any different than what you're already doing with yourself. So if you're not growing, don't expect any other part of you to grow. Your finances won't grow, your knowledge won't grow, your spirituality won't grow. But those are the important things, right? Wealth is only a byproduct of everything else. But if you are producing and doing what you need to do within yourself, it's going to come regardless. So don't give up. And it took him 10 years to get to where he was at before he cracked it and was able to live out his best life. Be patient. It's going to take some time. All right. Well, that's all the time that I have for you. Invest in this book. It's a great book, and it's one of many that will help you to get onto your path of success and wealth and finances and all those things. All right. Great book. I've taken a lot of keys from it. I'm reading it again. All right. You're not going to get everything the first time around. If you watch a movie or go to a play or go somewhere, you're not going to see everything the first time. You got to watch it over and over and over again. You got to see it over and over again. You got to do it over and over again to get everything out of it. So read it again if you read it again. Look through it again. Do it again, right? That's just my gem for you. Listen, and something that we do before we close out is our gym drop. And the gym drop is don't give up on yourself, right? A lot of times, like he said, when you have an expectation and it doesn't go that way, you can get discouraged and it can feel like forever before you get what you want. But it all depends on how bad you want it, right? We've all gone through our share of heartache. We've all gone through losses. We've all gone through all of those things. But in order for you to really level up and to get the things that you want, you have to be willing to fight for it, because the things that are of value and that's worth anything are the ones that you have to fight to get, right? Nothing that's worth it in this life is going to come easy. And if it comes easy, it's not necessarily worth it. All right, so just remember, don't give up. Be patient. Your time will come. One is for you. What and who is for you will never miss you. So don't be discouraged by the no's. Next opportunity. Don't be discouraged by the failures. It's something else better. Don't be discouraged by the tests, because your testimony is on the other side of that. All right, so just keep going. Listen, I can go into all the things that I've been through, and some people will be like, wow, why? How are you still here? But there's so many stories like that, right? It is okay to not be okay, and it's okay to go through the struggle. But on the other side of that struggle is just success. So keep going, okay? You got this. All right, so until next time, have an amazing day and an awesome rest of your week. Intelexx here, and welcome to Intelexx, a place for entrepreneurs podcast, the podcast for Intelexx Entrepreneur Agency, the Indeed for Artists. Thank you so much for tuning into season 4's 7th episode of Intelexx, a place for entrepreneurs. Stay tuned, because our next episode, you are in for a treat, okay? If you are interested in becoming a part of our podcast as a feature, definitely connect with us, because we have so much in store for you. If you want to be a part of the intellectual community, check us out. We have so much going on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and everywhere in between. And we even got our own app, okay? So that we can best serve you. All right, we thank you so much for being a part of our vision. We appreciate you. This place would not be the same if it wasn't for you. And we wouldn't be here without all of our amazing subscribers and supporters. Don't forget to sign up for the talent show every month, and someone always leaves with a prize. And don't forget to take advantage of all of our special offers, our events, our merch, our resources, our referrals, because we are here to serve you, okay? And thank you for the love. Until next time. All right, one last thing, what we doing this season is our giveaways. And this episode, we are going to be giving away to someone who has been here from the very beginning. We appreciate this person for all she has done to pour into us and into our platform and helped us in many different ways that you might not have known, but she is a dope person, a dope artist. So shout out to you, Erica. That's right, we got to. Congratulations on the giveaway for this month. Stay tuned so you can get your little goodies. All right, so this is the last part for real, for real. All right, so until next time, have an amazing day and an awesome, amazing week.